we will turn it over to our panelists.
You want us 15 minutes each, right?
15 minutes each.
All righty. Well, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay back there? That end? All right, good. So let me answer the question, is there a pension crisis? Absolutely. Just not the one that you hear about on TV, that you hear politicians talk about, or that's in the newspapers. Pensions are the second most efficient and effective way through market economics to provide for income in old age. The most effective way is a national program that spreads risks to everyone. The least efficient way to do it is through defined contribution plans, of which there is abundant evidence that while they work very well as supplements for prosperous people like my wife and I, my wife is a CEO, are not at all effective for most people, and they violate one of the most basic tenets of market economics as taught to us by the man who first explained market economics, Adam Smith, and that is specialization. How many of you would perform surgery on yourself? Or your spouse? Or dentistry? How many of you do your own plumbing? It is specialization that makes for efficiency and creates wealth. But when we move to a defined contribution plan, if we have any plan at all, for people to retire, we make the assumption that everyone is competent to be an investment manager, and they're not. Furthermore, they pay high prices, and the evidence shows that their performance is atrocious. In down markets, defined contribution plans lose about 25% more than professionally managed defined benefit pension plans, and in up markets, they earn about 25% less. To think that most people can be specialists in every field is to defy one of the defining principles of modern wealth creation. So why are defined benefit pension plans being described everywhere as in a state of crisis? The answer to that is very simple: systematic theft. Pensions are earned. They are not anything but wages that could have been taken today and instead are deferred for old age. There's more about this in my column today in Al Jazeera America, which goes through a number of areas where we have politicians and the journalists who accurately parrot what they say, misinforming us about fundamental economic concepts. We often hear politicians talk about contributions to the plan. This creates the impression that they are a gift or a gratuity. They are not. Workers receive a level of compensation, often referred to as a package. How that is divvied up, how much is paid immediately in cash wages, how much goes for vacations, how much goes for sick leave, how much goes for health insurance, how much goes into a retirement plan, is mere economics. It is not economics. As both a legal and an economic principle, all the money in a pension plan is earned by the workers. Now, I have talked about this before and immediately get people who go, wait a minute, the taxpayers put the money in for teachers. No, they didn't. The taxpayers exchanged their dollars for the work of the teachers, and once the teachers are paid, it is their money, they earned it. This is true of state troopers and everybody else who has a job. Now, accounting systems are often set up to disguise this. Congress participates in this through how it handles the payroll tax. People believe that there is a matching contribution to their Social Security fund. The law is called FICA, the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. In fact, that is just wages that are stealthily paid and which are taxed away at a rate of 100%. A $100,000 worker from the point of view of an employer, and by the way, I've been both the head of a union and the co-founder of a successful corporation, and have run lots of little enterprises in my life and employed many people. From the point of view of the employer, a $100,000 worker costs $107,650, and the worker pays $15,300 to the Social Security and Medicare systems. So the most important concept to understand, first and foremost, is that defined benefit pensions are earned benefits. The second is that they're efficient. The idea that they are risky is the result of a serious error by our government in putting pension plans for corporations on the books of the company. Defined contribution plans are not assets of the company. They are separate trusts. And I believe the only part of a defined benefit corporate plan that should appear on the books of a company is the shortfall, if any, in that plan. The trust itself should be entirely separate. Companies often report they made a big profit. It turns out the only profit they made was from the pension plan. They didn't make any from the market and the product that they produce. It's not their money. Now, then there is an argument that, well, this isn't a sound way to do things because we can't predict the future. That is the most vile, utter nonsense possible. And if you doubt it, tomorrow or this afternoon, call up an insurance agent near your home, anybody who sells a full line of products, and say, I want to buy an individual annuity. I am this age, I'm this gender, I want to collect starting on this date, and they will tell you the price. Individual annuities are sold every day. But individual annuities are very pricey for the same reason that defined contribution plans are pricey, and why they are bad economics. They require a very large reserve. You may live one day after you retire, and you may live to be 110. If you depend on a defined contribution plan, you must reserve for living until you are 110 years old, unless you want to become someone on welfare. On the other hand, if you have 500 or more people in a pension plan, we can actuarially estimate very, very well the life expectancy of that pool of workers. And the reserve that's needed is only slightly larger than the average expected age of those workers. Therefore, less money goes into the plan, more money is available for either immediate consumption or for savings. But it is economically efficient to do it this way. You also get professional management, and in addition, you have record keeping that is paid for on a wholesale level, not a retail level. And after all, the difference between wholesale and retail is what makes the grocery industry work, right? You drive up 18-wheelers, and you pay for food on the basis of an 18-wheeler, and you sell it on the basis of each little grocery bag that goes out the front door, the markup. Now, what we've seen happen is simply theft. Criminal, unprosecuted, systematic wage theft. In the state of New Jersey, under every governor since Christie Whitman, there has been a failure to put money into the pension plan by the state while municipalities continue to fulfill their obligations. In Wisconsin, where Governor Scott Walker famously said he wanted workers to contribute more to their pension plan, not understanding that the only source of money in the pension plan was the workers themselves, you have a very well-funded, very well-managed pension plan because the contributions were always made in a timely fashion. We have a crisis from failure to fund, which is nothing more than theft. Imagine if you got your paycheck, whether it comes every Wednesday or once a month, and your employer said, oh, you know, you only got 94% of your money this week because we were a little tight. You think you'd be down to the state or federal labor department complaining that you had performed the work and you were being cheated? Well, the only reason workers don't understand this is it doesn't appear on their paycheck in most cases. And whether it does, that is, part of your wage is reduced and contributed to the plan, is irrelevant as a matter of economics. But in general, we hide the financing of these plans so that workers are unaware when contributions are not made. We should be putting together massive criminal prosecutions in corporate America for this kind of wage theft, and we should be voting out of office politicians who have not contributed the money. We recently saw Governor Christie, a man who came into office saying, I'm going to fix this pension plan in our state, embrace wage theft. He said to the Washington Post, well, promises were made that aren't going to be kept. That's thievery. It is nothing less than thievery. Now, that none of this says that pension plans may not be too lucrative, We allow police officers in many jurisdictions to retire at the age of 41 with a half pension, inflation adjusted for life, which is tremendously expensive. We have plans that have all sorts of rules that delay your vesting in the plan for a long time. And we have rules that in various ways tilt the benefit of pensions up the income ladder. Subtle little rules. The principle is what I'm talking about here. And the principle is defined benefit contribution plans are market economics, they are efficient, and the only problems with them arise when they're under professional, competent, non-political management with the failure to contribute to those plans, and in the corporate sphere, that should lead to criminal prosecutions and imprisonment, because the only thing that executives really pay attention to is the risk of the loss of their liberty. Fines to the companies are meaningless, and in the case of politicians, it should result in removal from office by the voters. But of course, if you can hide this from the voters, if you can make the voters think it's a contribution and therefore an optional gift and not theft, you can confuse the issue. And we need to recognize finally that when it comes to defined contribution plans, they are an accident of history. The 401k is the result of an effort by one industry, financial services, to allow its highly paid executives to set aside some money without paying the taxes today. It was never intended to be the massive, incredibly lucrative for Wall Street and mutual fund houses program that it is today. And as a supplement for people who have sufficient incomes to additionally save, I don't have a fundamental problem with them. But as the core of retirement savings, they have proven to be an absolute disaster, and as Lord Keynes taught, there is no escaping the costs of old age. We can pay them through early death, we can pay them through welfare, but they will be paid. The universal ledger will record those costs, whether we are honest or not about how we fund old age retirement in the modern world.